On Monday night, Michigan fans got maybe the best Michigan football news they've gotten all offseason. That's right. Bryce Underwood is a team captain. And listen, I know this doesn't sound as exciting as somebody, dominating a scrimmage or a five-star freshman suddenly looking like a starter. I get that, okay? But I think this is bigger than some people are going to give it credit for because Bryce Underwood is a sophomore quarterback, and Michigan's veterans just looked around the locker room and decided, yeah, that's our dude right there. Bryce Underwood, Jordan Marshall, Rod Moore, Trey Pierce. Those are your four Michigan captains for the 2026 football season. And the part that should have Michigan fans absolutely fired up is that this wasn't Kyle Whittingham just handing Underwood a title and giving it to him because, like, well, we didn't pay him a lot of money. We got to get that. The players voted and said, this is our dude. And that's why this tells us something about Bryce Underwood. The practice reports never could. In this episode of the Big Ten Huddle presented by FanDuel, I think about what Bryce Underwood looked like last season and what he most likely has looked like in the locker room, on the practice field this season in order to earn this type of respect as an 18-year-old sophomore in college football. He was one of the most hyped recruits, or 19, might be 19 now, I can't remember, but he was one of the most hyped recruits Michigan has ever signed. He became only the fourth true freshman quarterback to ever start at Michigan, joining Rick Leach, Chad Henne, and Tate Forcier. Then he started all 13 games. He threw for nearly 2,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, ran for almost 400 yards, and had 6 scores. So altogether, that's almost 3,000 yards of offense and 17 touchdowns as a true freshman quarterback. Was it perfect? No. Was not perfect. 9 interceptions, 60% completion percentage. There were definitely freshman moments. In the game against Ohio State, he did look overwhelmed a good amount of that game. And that's exactly why the captain announcement matters so much, because because his teammates saw all of this, saw last season, saw what's going on in practice. They saw the 5-star hype. They saw the great plays. They saw the mistakes. They saw what he looked like after losses. They saw him in meetings. They saw him in the weight room. They saw how he responded when things weren't going well. And after seeing the entire Bryce Underwood experience for a year, they voted him a captain. That is different. And here's where I think we need to correct something about this story that actually makes it even better in some cases, right? Zach and I just did our Michigan preview, and we had a lot of questions about Bryce Underwood. Kyle Whittingham didn't personally sit down in his office and say, I'm naming Bryce Underwood a captain. Michigan says captaincy is determined by a player vote and calls it the greatest actual honor a Michigan football player can receive because it comes from their teammates, which is all true. I mean, you can be a hater all you want. That is absolutely true. So when I say Whittingham wouldn't have a sophomore quarterback, or if I would say that or somebody else would say that representing the program unless he earned it, that's true in the larger sense because he earned it from his teammates. The real headline in this is better, that the locker room wouldn't do it unless he'd earned it. You're talking about fifth-year guys, seniors, junior players who have been through college football, some of them to multiple programs in college football, players who were around Michigan's championship culture before. They didn't have to pick the famous quarterback. They chose him. And when you're trying to figure out whether Bryce Underwood is actually ready to take the jump from talented freshman to superstar quarterback, it's a pretty powerful piece of evidence. And FanDuel is starting to tell us something about this and the expectations and how they're rising as well. Because right now, Bryce Underwood is plus 4,000 to win the Heisman Trophy, which puts him in the top 15 players in the country on the board. Now, am I telling you Bryce Underwood is definitely winning the Heisman? No, that's not what I'm saying. But betting markets don't give out national respect like ice cream cones at a birthday party because somebody, it has to deserve it. They have to look good. Somebody looked good in high school 2 years ago. That doesn't mean they get Heisman respect going into their sophomore season. That number tells you there's legitimate belief that the second year jump could be substantial for Bryce Underwood. And I actually think the captain vote gives me more confidence in the possibility than the odds do overall because quarterback talent isn't just arm talent. It's command, it's confidence, it's getting 10 other guys to believe that when it's 3rd and 8 in Columbus, you are the guy they want holding the football. Or if you just made a mistake and you're coming back out there and you gotta have a touchdown on this next drive, the dudes are looking at you in the pocket and saying, let's roll, Bryce, right? That's the jump Michigan needs from Bryce Underwood. And apparently, inside the locker room, some of that has already happened. But Bryce Underwood isn't the only reason these four names should excite Michigan fans. Look at a guy like Jordan Marshall. Now, Jordan Marshall said some things that I'm sure he would take back here the last few times, but he is a dude who is going to get out there and he's going to go for his guys and he's going to support his guys as much as he possibly can. Marshall ran for 932 yards last season, 10 touchdowns, and just 150 carries. That's 6.2 yards per carry. He earned second team all Big Ten recognition from the media, despite only starting 4 games. Now you pair him with Bryce Underwood for an entire season. Your offensive captains are a dynamic sophomore quarterback and running back who was already one of the Big Ten's most explosive runners before becoming the unquestioned centerpiece of the backfield. And then remember who Michigan hired to coordinate the offense. Jason Beck's Utah offense last season ranked second nationally in rushing offense at 266.3 yards per game, fourth in total offense, and fifth in scoring at 41.2 points per game. They also threw only 5 interceptions, the fewest in the country. Underwood, Marshall, a system designed, Andrew Marshall, that is, a system designed to stress defenses with the quarterback in the running game. Come on. I mean, did you see Devin Dempierre before he got to Utah? I'm not going to say he was bad, but there was a substantial jump in his game and what Jason Beck was doing with him to make that leap happen. You can see what Michigan is trying to build here. This offense doesn't need Bryce Underwood throwing 45 times every Saturday and trying to become Patrick Mahomes overnight. That's not going to happen, and that's not what they need. They need to run the football and make defenses account for Andrew Marshall. I said Andrew Marshall earlier. Jordan Marshall, Andrew Marsh, it's the receiver I'm talking about. Use Underwood's legs, create easier throws, protect the football, and then let the ridiculous physical talent take over. Because you don't just have it at running back with Savion Hyder and Jordan Marshall, but you do have it on the outside. J.G. Buchanan, Jamie French, like I said, Andrew Marsh. That feels like a much healthier path for a sophomore quarterback. And then there's Rod Moore, right? And this is incredible for him and what his journey has been in Michigan. Michigan announced that Moore has now become the first player in school history to be voted captain 3 times. Think about that. Michigan football has existed for nearly a century and a half. Charles Woodson was a 3-time captain. Tom Brady wasn't. Aiden Hutchinson wasn't. Rod Moore is the first. I said was a 3-time captain. I'm sorry. Charles Woodson wasn't a 3-time captain. Tom Brady wasn't. Aiden Hutchinson wasn't. Rod Moore is the first. And after everything he's gone through physically, he's still the guy teammates choose to follow and be their leader. That tells you exactly what kind of presence Michigan is getting back on their defense. And then, of course, you get the big guy in the middle. Trey Pierce gives you another veteran voice right in the middle of that defensive front. So look at the balance of these 4 players. You've got Moore, the old guard, Pierce, the veteran defensive lineman, Marshall, the established offensive playmaker entering his junior season. And then you got Bryce Underwood, the young quarterback who could become the face of the entire program if this season goes right. That's almost the perfect leadership structure for a coaching transition because this is the biggest thing for me. Kyle Whittingham is new. The coordinators are new. Parts of this roster are new. Michigan is changing. They are changing schemes and moving into a different era of Michigan football, one that the cell phone won't be used nearly as much at halftime, which that's a good thing that's a good thing that's happening. But the leadership isn't being imported. The locker room itself has decided who the bridge is going to be between what Michigan has been and what Michigan wants to become. And one of those 4 players is a sophomore quarterback, and that matters. Michigan went 9-4 last season. Underwood showed flashes, but the offense wasn't consistently good enough, especially against their best opponents. And they played a much easier schedule. I wouldn't say it was an easy schedule last season, but a much easier schedule than what they're going to face this year. So if you want to get anywhere close to 9-4 again, you're going to need this out of your quarterback. You're going to need this out of your captains because it's a gauntlet that Michigan's going through on their schedule. But Michigan is Michigan. They averaged 27.5 points per game, while Underwood experienced everything you'd expect a true freshman starter to experience. So the question entering 2026 has never really been whether Bryce Underwood is talented. We didn't even question that on our preview. We know he's talented. The question is whether the game slows down, whether the mistakes decrease, whether he takes control of the offense, whether Michigan becomes his team, whether he has the confidence to be the guy. Not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. His teammates just gave him part of the answer. They made him captain, not because he's Bryce Underwood, the recruiting star, not because he's the quarterback, not because he's famous. You don't get that vote that way. You get it because the people who work beside you every day believe you're worth following. And that's why I think this is some of the best Michigan football news that they have gotten, that fans have gotten, heading into 2026. The physical ceiling was never the question. And now we're starting to see evidence that the leadership is catching up to the talent. And if Michigan gets both of those things with Bryce Underwood this year, then that plus 4,000 odds for the Heisman might not look nearly as crazy when it comes November. If you're a Michigan fan, this is the video for you, and I want you to comment on this question. What would Bryce Underwood have to do in 2026 for you to call this season a success? Let me know down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe for more Big Ten football analysis, and join us right here inside the Big Ten Huddle. We appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.